Hey thinking, hope you're all having a fantastic day. It is time for Helldivers Quest Drop 2. So let me put on my reading glasses. Let us get into this. Part 1, Mars Orbit, June 10th, 2184. Yours will be the first boots on the ground, the spearhead of Operation Saving Minuteman, to be wedged into the legally occupied world of Acer Pass, the fulcrum of the coming liberation campaign. As he talks, voice matching the booming roar of the shuttle's engines, Democracy Officer Cutler's chest fills with pride. His high-collar uniform jacket swells, pressing against the ratcheted harness holding him to the bucking seat. Before speaking, you wait for the G-forces to subside as the shuttle exits Mars' gravity well. Democracy Officer Cutler looks unfazed by the shifting forces while restrained in the jump seat. You swallow the pooling, acrid spit of nausea. Flying in and out of atmosphere has never been a problem before, but your survival instincts are disquieted, and your brain's neurons are firing false alarms. The last thing you remember is the extraction from Meridia and being pulped, slammed around in an identical compartment. That is great, but what about the mission itself? What about the Ministry of Truth team we are extracting, you ask? Their democracy officer, Valton, is the highest priority asset on the ground. After he answers, relative silence falls over the passenger compartment. That is an impersonal assessment, not a bias, Cutler adds, his straight face never flinching with a tell. Glancing away at the sealed cockpit door, you say, "No, I was thinking that I've never heard of a DO deploying planetside." "Of course," he says. Like the super operation detachments, his team fills a novel role in support of, but independent from, the Super Earth Armed Forces. "Of course," you echo. Bolton's team has 4 performers, each representing an aspect of the Super Earth Armed Forces. That is 5 people that must be extracted, plus any SEAF personnel you commit to. Because air support will be restricted for Operation Saving Minuteman, Eagle 1 will be replaced by Pelican 2 to facilitate the evacuation. You state. Mental alarms sound with a creeping suspicion. Why is air support restricted? Cutler stares, surprised for a moment. Not indignant by the question with a furrowed brow, but with the lifted eyebrows that you are asking it. Deploying with Eagle 1 would waste an airframe and pilot in such a hostile environment. Acer Pass has been overrun by the cold metal clutches of socialism. The surviving defenders have been scattered into isolated pockets for systematic destruction, and automaton invaders have constructed air defense and jamming stations to prevent escape. At the same time, their crewed ships form a planetary blockade. Because of this, the Super Destroyer will not enter low orbit to provide support. Your eyes narrow. The mission parameters are not lining up. Recalling your training manual, you say, "But hellpods require low orbit to fire." He holds up a finger and has to brace the hand against his harness to stop it from accidentally wagging, jostled by the shuttle transit. Incorrect. That is a safety regulation that the Department of Safety and Health has certified Joint Super Operation Command to waive on a case-by-case basis. The SES writ of compliance will perform the first battlefield high-orbit insertion by launching Sigma Detachment's Hellpods while grazing upper orbit. We will then disengage until you have secured Democracy Officer Valton, his team, and knocked a hole in the automaton defense net. Once that is achieved, the Joint Operations 3 Super Destroyers will assault the blockade and deploy our airlift wing for extraction. Oh, sweet liberty, you moan as the shuttle's momentum is suddenly arrested, and the sound of transiting from void to captive atmosphere filter through the shuttle's thick hull. This can't be a legal mission. I never heard of a hell dive as bad as this. Correct. Categorically, all of Operation Saving Minuteman exceeds the Ministry of Defense's categorization. For now, these missions are being referred to as Beyond Helldive. Now straighten up, Charlie. We have arrived. Cutler proclaims and cracks his stoic expression with a broad, toothy smile, fanged almost. Welcome to Super Earth Ship Writ of Compliance and Super Operations Detachment Sigma, Squad Leader. Part 2, Mars, aboard the SES Writ of Compliance. Still on June 10th, 2184. Stuffed. The aft interior of the super destroyer is over capacity. Evidently, there is little time or consideration given to replacing Eagle 1 with Pelican 2. The ordnance and maintenance equipment dedicated to your personal hero, the Federation Strike Fighter, has simply been stacked up along the port and starboard bulkheads as best as possible to make room for the extra shuttle parked on the deck beneath where the Strike Fighter is normally suspended. Cutler leaves you at the back of Pelican 1 to collect yourself and find your own way forward. Your dawdling takes long enough that the pilot begins flashing the interior lights, signaling you to clear out that he can deplane without you two breaking the flight crew's segregation from Helldivers. The crew elevator halfway up the lower deck's tactical compartments, hangar, maintenance, armory, and bridge is like the rest of the hangar, over capacity. Sailors sit atop crates as the lift ascends its track, so instead, you climb up the starboard ladder. More overflow from the hangar is blocking the top, and once you have clambered up and over the obstruction, you smack the back of the Helldiver sitting on the boxes, unlawfully idle. "Hey!" she yells, jumping forward and denting another stack of metal boxes to the side as she waves her robotic right arm to steady herself. Like you, she is wearing the standard B-01 tactical uniform. Also like you, her armor is surplus and blacked out, taken out of stores before the iconic yellow paint has been applied. "Sorry, you were in the way," you say while staring at the virtual nameplate above her head, which your helmet shows, her name unabbreviated while aboard the ship. Habit stops you from saying it, and you shrug to yourself and the steel veteran. It's not personal. Helldivers come and go too quickly to start using names. Sierra. "Oh, Charlie! The ship didn't announce another super destroyer." Sierra straightens up and looks around as if the disembodied ship's system voice might descend with clarification. You shake your head. "This ship doesn't work like that. I think the Helldiver squad is more permanent. Dio says I'm top kick." Rolling her shoulders and letting the confusion flow over her head, Sierra throws open her arms in a wide stance. "Well, it's great to see you again." "Thanks, I guess. We share an AO?" you ask while hugging her. Helldiver tradition. Your people get upset when a hug is rejected. "Meridia, the super colony!" She waves her robotic arm, and the timbre of her voice finally strikes you. The last thing you heard from Sierra 2 was her unending screams of rage and pain, which drowned out her speaking voice in your memory. "Hell, it's only been a week, right?" "Yeah, right. Where's the rest of the squad?" You ask and lead the way, scanning the mid-deck cluttered with yet more hangar overflow. Boxes, loose tools, and even an Eagle rocket pod. Wheeling into the midship vestibule and stopping at the armory before entering the bridge, your eyes widen at the distinct lack of equipment. It's her answer that stops you, however. "They didn't come with you?" "Cutler!" you roar, eyes fixed on your democracy officer leaning over the holographic table's galactic map in the ship's belly-slung bridge compartment. He glances over his shoulder at you, smiling as broadly as before, and then the ship's system cuts off your indignant echoes, setting course to the Acer Pass system. Part 3, the Acer Pass system aboard the SES Right of Compliance. June 10th, 2184, Operation Saving Minuteman. Let us keep our language in front of the ship's crew democratic, Democracy Officer Cutler says, and shoves the AR-23A into your hands. It is a cut-down Liberator carbine painted with a matte black primer, its intended paint yet to be applied. "Oh," Sierra coos at your side. She plays with a new old weapon. Cutler passes her, metalhead clanking and scratching the rough paint. "So cool!" The bolt's limiter has been filed down, you observe. They are a prototype variant that the Ministry of Prosperity wants field tested before authorizing the Ministry of Defense to release it to the Helldivers Corps, Cutler says. For your valued contribution to the military procurement cycle, you'll be given the opportunity to submit a review for editing. "Whoa, awesome!" Sierra pumps her fist, then claps. Stowing your carbine on your left hip, you gingerly pluck a pistol between your thumb and forefinger, glaring at it. There's only one type of handgun on the rack, P-113 verdicts. Alright, what about these? We don't have standard equipment? Not even the regular war bond? The Ministry of Prosperity has also requested that we make use of existing surplus to help relieve the pressure on our fleet distribution centers, he explains. Alright, this is the best operation ever! We get all this free stuff without spending a single super credit or medal! Sierra yells and grabs one of the high caliber sidearms, while you slowly attach it to your right thigh plate. And those? You ask, leering with a frown as Cutler pulls the lid off a box of unsecured blades mixed in with the shipping pellets. Their sheaths in another box shoved into the armory's cabinet. Throwing knives to also be tested, 8 per Helldiver. All other equipment must be procured on site. That will be a policy for all super operation detachments to conserve wartime material for Helldiver Corps' regulars. The other 2 Hell pods will be loaded with supplies to bolster the besieged training facility. Recovery of abandoned weaponry is advised. Bring back what you can. With that, Cutler turns and strides out of the armory, returning to the bridge's holographic table. Sierra is too busy trying to fix the sheaths to her rigging to watch the DO depart. After watching her try to work it out for herself, you lean in and correct the stacked magnetic cases for the blades. "Oh, thanks. I think I get it," she mumbles while watching you work, then perks up as you tend to yourself. "Isn't this awesome? We get to liberate with brand new weapons for any other Helldiver. We're all on this crazy mission. I bet we'll get a cadence about us." "It sure is something," you answer, preoccupied with loading your own magazines and knives. "Helldivers to Hellpods. Helldivers to Hellpods," the ship's system announces. The words make your feet move before you can think about it, hardwired training propelling you forward. In the last second, you twist to grab one last magazine on your way into the bridge. Already running ahead, Sierra stops before the stairs to the forward gallery to give Democracy Officer Cutler a casual salute. You forego the pleasantry, your eyes fixated on the foremost window as you climb the steps up to the Hellpod deck. In the black of space are 2 gas giants, a miniature system within wider Acer paths. A small, slate gray orb glistens between them on the Super Destroyer's nose. That orb, a mutual moon between planets, grows larger by the heartbeat. Even as you lock your feet into the floor plate of your pod and ascend into the vertical launch chute, your neck remains craned over your shoulder until the last second. Everything about this launch contradicts your Helldivers Corps' indoctrination and basic training in February, let alone the months of the frontline experience since then. As the bladed iris at the top of your Hellpod seals you into the man-sized bullet and darkness envelops you, you realize that your fingers are twitching with excitement. Then, the padded restraining arms of the G-force buffers clank into place around you. A reverberating shunk, a whining hiss. The smell of recycled air hits you, your atmosphere now sealed from the Super Destroyer in space. In front of your nose, the pod's mission screen flickers to life. At first, it looks like frozen static, until you recognize the lifeless, fog-saturated surface of Acer Pass. Dominated by the SEAF training facility in the area of operations middle, your primary objective is there, to secure the Ministry of Truth team. Outside the base is a haggard no man's land of blasted, gray earth whose craters have become bogs. Acer Pass's plains, rolling hills, and crags of sheer ravines have lost most of the world's long-dead native trees to the encroachment of satellite training bases, firing ranges, and maneuvering fields. Now, that ring of support facilities is covered by a wide swath of red encircling the main base. Your mandatory secondary objectives are scattered enemy outposts beyond the automaton's main forces. A jamming tower to the north is where the SEAF hangar bays stood, where recruits would come and soldiers would depart. Those structures have been flattened, replaced by a small defensive complex. The next secondary objective is a SEAF surface-to-air missile site sitting atop a hill to the west, captured and corrupted by the automaton's socialist programming. Around the SAM site are new anti-air artillery batteries. The western and northern regions of the AO are no good for dropping. Your high-orbit launched Hellpods are extremely vulnerable to the AAA. "Wait," you mutter, realization dawning, and then yell, "We won't be able to call hell bombs!" The self-assured voice of Cutler proclaims in your helmet, "Procure on site. There should be plenty of unexploded ordnance on the surface to use. If not, I have faith in your creativity. Me too, CR2 adds. Charlie is smart. Launch in 20 seconds. Select your landing zone, squad leader. It is time for the managed democracy ballots of the past, because it's already been called. Ballot 1, LZ1, the SEAF training facility. Reinforce and organize the SEAF forces to break through the automaton siege to destroy the secondary objectives. Ballot 2, LZ2, Eastern Ranges. Reclaim weapons and vehicles before an automaton salvage operation begins. Or Ballot 3, LZ3, Southern Morass. Infiltrate the automaton encirclement of the SEAF base. And what won with this vote was Ballot 3, the Southern Morass. So I will see the Fang Gang there. For Helldivers Quest, drop 3, where you will drop into the Southern Morass to infiltrate the encirclement of the SEAF base. I hope the Fang Gang have a fantastic rest of your days. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and like and subscribe. I will see everyone later.